Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name's Leora and I talk on here about books, reading, writing and sometimes other stuff as well. And today I'm here with a video to talk all about the books I still want to pick up this spring. It feels quite weird to sit here in my springtime outfit and film this springtime video as it's absolutely pouring rain right now in the Netherlands, which is a very typical thing. If you ever go to the Netherlands, it'll probably be raining. It's just the most likely scenario. But nonetheless, I'm still very excited to talk about everything I want to pick up this springtime. Again, a disclaimer that we've done many a times on this channel. I'm a mood reader. You can't trust me. I can't make any promises to you guys that I'll actually pick up these books, but it's the books that like sort of entice me the most to read them soon. And I also have a few books I want to talk about that I've recently read that I feel really sort of encapsulate the spring vibes. So most of these books are not necessarily spring themed, they're just books I want to read during the springtime. When I was going through my shelves, I really noticed I don't own a lot of like specific springtime books, and the ones that are like sort of spring vibey I've already recommended a few times, so I cannot like come in again and be like, do you guys know about the Tea Dragon Society? Because I mean you do if you've watched my videos. So I have like 3 books that I've already read that I want to mention, and then I have this whole stack of books that I'm wanting to pick up. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. So the first book I want to talk about is one I'm very excited about. I've only recently finished it, and it is The Magicians of Caprona by Diana Wynne Jones. Most of you know Diana Wynne Jones, I think. She's written Howl's Moving Castle, which has also been made into a Studio Ghibli movie. It's one of my favourite movies of all time. It's like my comfort film, you know, when I'm like upset or I have like a tummy ache, that's what I put on. I've discovered that Diana Wynne Jones' other books also completely have the Studio Ghibli vibes, and I can just like imagine a sort of Studio Ghibli-esque world in my mind when I'm reading them, which has just been really wonderful. So first I've read Charmed Live, which is book 1 in that series, which is about a magical castle and children learning magic in their castle, and you know there's like some sibling rivalry going on, and it's a really lovely read. And then on Scribd, The Magicians of Caprona was the second book in the series, but then when I'd finished it and I logged it on Goodreads, it was book number 4, so I was like, what happened? But I did see that, you know, the order of the books is sort of debatable, so I guess it's okay. They are all stories that you can read separately, so maybe it's not that big of a deal. The reason I want to recommend Magicians of Caprona as a spring book is because it's set in Italy and it just has like warm summer spring vibes, so I think it's a perfect read for this time of the year if it's not raining in your country like it is in mine. I listened to the audiobook for this one, and I do have to say I got very annoyed by the narrator doing like Italian accents. It was like fun at the beginning, but as it kept going on I was like, oh my god, please just read them in a normal voice. But I do really enjoy these audiobooks. So this book is about 2 rivaling magical families that each have like their own castle in the magical city of Caprona, and so they're all magic families. So we have the Montanas, and then on the other side we have, what were they called again? Oh my god, I finished this yesterday. How do I already not remember? Right, we have the Montanas and the Petrocchis. It was somewhere in my mind, it was just far away. So the Montanas and the Petrocchis are sort of rivaling magical families, and then we follow, I think, the youngest siblings of each of the families, and they both get kidnapped. And there's this big plot going on and they have to solve it, you know, and the families have to finally come together even though they hate each other, and it's this whole thing. There's magical fights. Crestomancy makes a guest appearance. Crestomancy is the magician, like one of the bigger characters in the first book. It's a really fun romp, and it's just really like cozy and nice and comforting, and it has the Studio Ghibli vibes, and I wish they would make this into a movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you've seen Arrietty, it's one of my favourite Studio Ghibli films of all time. I just love it. It's like Thumbelina, but Studio Ghibli. And then this book is like Arrietty, but then like a different story. It's really good. It has like, I don't want to spoil it, but it's really good. Please just pick it up. Enjoyed it a lot, and it was really great, and I'll definitely read more in this series. Another book I would love to mention here, I've also mentioned it I think in my last recent reads, but that is World of Wonders by Amy Njukumatatil. This book is definitely spring vibes because it's got this big sort of element of nature, and that's just springtime to me, you know, because nature comes alive again and the plants start flourishing and growing, and, you know, animals, creatures, yay, nature. I'm so eloquent. So the author is a poet, and you can definitely tell because the writing is beautiful, it is lyrical, and this book is basically sort of Amy's life story, and then it combines that with strange little facts about animals and nature and beautiful things in nature, but mostly creatures like animals. So you learn about really strange birds and like whale sharks, and it's really beautiful. It has stunning illustrations that are like pastel colored here and there, so that definitely fits the spring vibe as well. The audiobook is also really beautiful. It's just like reading poetry, except it's not poetry, but it's really good and I enjoyed it a lot. And then last but not least, I have Violet Bent Backwards Over the Grass by Lana Del Rey. Yes. So I do really enjoy Lana Del Rey's music. It's very dramatic, you know, and we know I love the dramatic, and this book, I've heard mixed reviews. There's some friends of mine that are really into poetry that think it's horrible and it's like, you know, not great. But I also have some friends who are really into poetry that thought there was some good poems in there. And you know, I think you can really tell that Lana Del Rey writes lyrics because it is definitely well written and there's some really beautiful poems in here. But especially the audiobook is something I really enjoyed. I haven't read it physically, I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook has like sort of soundscapes. So you hear like running water or maybe like birds, you know, you hear like something to encompass the vibe of the poem, and that just really elevated the whole thing to like a next level for me, and that made me really enjoy it. And it has the spring vibes because it's got like, you know, nature sounds again, and it's just a book with the vibe. So I don't know what the experience would be if I just read the physical book, but with the audiobook there, it was like a really wonderful experience that I thoroughly enjoyed. I didn't like all of the poems, like especially the poem where she's telling us that money doesn't make you happy. I'm like, yes, but you're a millionaire. So I guess you know, but still it's, you know, just felt a little bit iffy. So there's some poems in there that weren't my favorite thing ever. But then some other ones were really beautiful and lyrical, you know, and something I just really enjoyed. And it's just dreamy, you know, it's dreamy and vague, the same as with her music. So I enjoy that. Okay, so those were some of the books I wanted to recommend, I guess. I haven't read a whole lot this year, so that is also why I'm trying to sort of do this in a creative way and just talk about books that are on my radar that I want to read. So, like I mentioned, I've been struggling with reading this year. I'm definitely reading and I'm enjoying it, but I'm just moving a lot slower than I usually do. I'm trying to tell myself it's okay, but I still really feel like I should be reading more, but I'm trying to tell myself it's okay because it is okay. This is so messy. Either way, I want to get out of the reading slump because it feels like a slump to me now. So if I was just reading in a relaxed pace, there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like I'm in the slump, you know, I'm in the trenches of the slump. So I was like, I need a book to get me out of that. Lots of people have been talking about Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. And lots of people have been saying that this reads away so easily, that it really grabbed their attention, that they couldn't stop reading. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I need right now because I need to get back into the swing of things. I've just opened it up and I like the first sentence of the synopsis is like, on a bitter cold day in the December of his junior year. And I'm like, it's not spring vibes. Either way, all I know about this is that there's two friends and I think they sort of keep gravitating back towards each other, and I know that they've like developed a game or something together and something to do with that game and like building a business together. Let me just read this to you because this is a horrible blurb that I'm giving out. Spanning 30 years from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Venice Beach, California and lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zevin's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricately imagined novel that examines the multifarious nature of identity, disability, failure, the redemptive possibilities in play, and above all, our need to connect, to be loved, and to love. Yes, it is a love story, but not one you've read before. Okay, so Sam and Sadie, they developed this game together, and there's big themes of this disability. That's something I've heard before as well, that this is mainly why it meant so much to a lot of people. Gabrielle Zevin is one of my favourite authors because of this young adult book that she wrote like a long time ago, and I don't know if that book would still mean a lot to me right now, but when I read it back in the day, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. It's basically this world where people sort of, you know, when they died, they came to that world, and then they aged backwards until they were a baby, and then they were born again, so it was like sort of the afterlife. I have it in Dutch and I don't know where it is and I don't remember what it was called in English because I read it in Dutch and I own it in Dutch. I think Elsewhere actually is the title of that book. It just popped into my brain. Crazy. Anyway, I enjoyed that a lot and I've been wanting to pick up some of Gabrielle Zevin's other work for such a long time, and then this one is being really hyped right now, which kind of put me off, but then also made me think like maybe I should pick it up. So if you've read it, definitely let me know. I really want to read it. I think it could cure my reading slump, potentially. Something else I've been thinking of reading is more poetry. I have 2 poetry collections right here that I want to pick up. First, we have selected poems of Edward Thomas. And this is really old. I think, when was this published? I found it at an antique store, I think, and I just bought it because I thought it looked cute, and I read that it was like nature poems, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll read some nature poems. It has a library stamp on it, which says 14th of May, 1973. So that's really funny. I don't know if you can see. Oh, it's an ancient relic. I mean, ancient relic. It's not that long ago. So I started reading this already on a nice summer day, the day I bought it actually, and I almost finished it on that day, and there were a lot of silly poems in here and a lot of stuff that was like weird, but a lot of fun stuff as well, and definitely some beautiful lyrical verse, and just, you know, he has a really nice rhythm in the way he writes. There were some just really beautiful poems in there. Let me read a little bit of some things I've annotated. Many and many day like this, aimed at the unseen moving goal, and nothing found but remedies. For all desire, these may not haul. They sowed a new desire to kiss, desire's self beyond control, desire of desire, and yet life stayed on within my soul. I quite forgot I could forget. So good. Yeah, so there's some little tidbits in here that I've really, really enjoyed, and then there's been some tidbits in here that I've been like, what is this man talking about? I do not know. Let me read another one to you that I really enjoyed. One thing I know, that love with chance and use and time and necessity will grow, and louder the heart's dance at parting than at meeting be. Oh, that's so cute. And so this bit that I've just read to you was about a hill. So he wrote a love poem about a hill, and my annotation is, imagine you love a hill so much you write it a love poem. That's literally what Sir Edward Thomas did. And then on the other page he wrote a poem about birds, and I wrote down, POV, you like birds more than people. I think it's true. I think he did love birds more than people. Either way, I just want to finish this because it was like an interesting piece of writing. Then another poetry collection that I did start and never finished. Oopsie. This is Felicity by Mary Oliver, and it says a winner of the Pulitzer Prize. And I don't know if this specifically won that or just like Mary Oliver won it. I mean, she did win it, but I don't know with what novel. And this is one of her love poems collections, so I'm really excited about that. If I have any secret stash of poems anywhere, it might be about love, not anger, Mary Oliver once said in an interview. Finally, in Felicity, we can immerse ourselves in Oliver's love poems. Here, great happiness abounds. And I was like, yes, because the thing I love most in poetry is when there's joy in it, and just like simple joy. Like for example, in The Orange by Wendy Cope is like my favorite poem because it's just so joyous. And that's also why I love Billy Collins and his poetry. I've already started this as well, like I just said, and I've tabbed a few. And I'll just read like a few to you that I really enjoyed so far. And I'll tell you that I really still want to pick this up. Moments. There are moments that cry out to be fulfilled. Like telling someone you love them, or giving your money away, all of it. Your heart is beating, isn't it? You're not in chains, are you? There's nothing more pathetic than caution, when headlong might save a life, even possibly your own. That's just really nice. I enjoyed that. I feel like I did a bad job reading it out loud, but I did enjoy it. So this is also on the list of books I want to read this spring. Then this is a book that got talked about in my comments recently, which made me go like, wait, that is actually on my bookshelves and I should pick it up. I'm talking about The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. I've talked about this on and off on my channel, and it's been on my shelves for a really long time, but I just haven't been able to pick it up because there's so many books I want to read. But I'm kind of in the mood for like a cute, cozy fantasy middle grade thingy going on, and I've heard that Kelly Barnhill has really beautiful writing, so that definitely made me interested. Every year, the people of the Protectorate leave a baby as a sacrifice to the witch who lives in the forest. I remember this. Forest, nature, springtime. God, I'm really annoying this video, sorry. But the witch, Xan, is a kind one. She rescues the children and delivers them to welcoming families on the other side of the forest, nourishing the babies with starlight on the journey. But one year, Xan accidentally feeds a baby moonlight instead of starlight, filling the ordinary child with extraordinary magic. Xan decides she must raise this girl, whom she calls Luna, as her own. As Luna's 13th birthday approaches, her magic begins to emerge, with dangerous and thrilling consequences. That sounds really good. Can't wait to pick this up. The cover is also really, really cute. And yeah, I really feel like it's about to happen this time. This time, I'm gonna read it. Then next up on this list are a few like sort of thrillers / horror books, because I was like, you know what? I think I actually need like something really fast paced, you know, and like boom, boom, boom to get me back into that reading mood. I want to be on the edge of my seat because the only thing I've been able to do this year so far is just watch like a whole bunch of Criminal Minds. So then I was like, what if I start read books that are sort of like Criminal Minds, you know? Problem solved. So I have The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix is one of my favourite horror authors because he is hilarious. A hilarious man. I think he's really funny. His books are highly disturbing because he's really good with like the vibes. So even if he's describing something that is not the scariest thing ever, because he's so good at like setting the scene, you still get like goosebumps and you get absolutely terrified and you can't sleep at night. Which is not really what I want, but I do want to be on the edge of my seat while reading a book. So this book is about a bunch of girls who were all the last living survivor of a serial killer, and they come together and they form the Final Girl Support Group. But then one by one they start disappearing and somebody is killing off these final girls. That's all I know, that's all I want to know, because I kind of want to be like surprised as I go in. I've read 2 other Grady Hendrix books and I was left like sort of highly disturbed by both of them. I was like, I don't know if this man is evil or like just a really good author. So I don't know how this one is gonna go, but I'm definitely very intrigued to see. Then I have The Maid by Nita Prose, which I've owned for a while as well and I also have not picked up. I do really enjoy this cover, by the way. Look at it. It's so like just nice to look at. So I don't know a whole lot about this one either. I do know that it's a closed room mystery. So I think somebody gets murdered and like the room is closed and like how is it possible? And it's set in a hotel and we follow a maid as she gets sort of targeted for being the suspect, but she didn't do it. So she needs to prove that she didn't do it. So I'm really curious to see if this is going to be good, but I'm kind of hesitant to pick it up because I've heard really, really mixed reviews. So I don't know. Then this is the final book on my list, and this is As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. I've really enjoyed A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Good Girl, Bad Blood, also by Holly Jackson, which is the first 2 books in this series. And this is the only one I haven't read yet, which I do a whole lot. I read like 2 books in a series and then never the final one. Something is wrong with me, but I do really want to read this one. So without spoiling too much for the first 2 books, Pippa is being stalked in this one and she's basically trying to sort of find out her stalker, and then it turns out there's like a connection between her stalker and a local serial killer. So very exciting, very scary. I've heard some mixed reviews about this one as well. There's some people that say it's really, really good. It was a wonderful conclusion. And there's some people who say that you can better just not read it at all. So I don't know what's going on there, but I definitely want to go and find out for myself if I like it. So those were some of the books I really, really, really want to pick up this springtime, and some of my spring book recommendations as well. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and you had a good time. Don't forget to subscribe. We're nearing 40k, which is wild. I don't know what is going on, but I'm very pleased and very thankful that you're all here. Don't forget to check out my socials. My web shop where I sell my art is in the description as well. And yeah, I'll see all of you in my next video. Bye!